Sit with me while I tell you how horrible men are. If you don't know, if you don't follow me, I had a hysterectomy at 22. I don't have ovaries anymore. I lost one ovary before that procedure, but I don't have ovaries anymore, and I have part of my cervix. So, having a hysterectomy at 22, I obviously felt very isolated. Not a lot of people in my age bracket had to have that surgery and had to go screaming through surgical menopause. And so I searched out for support groups. And I found some support groups on Facebook and a couple other platforms, and I joined them. And let me tell you, when I joined those support groups, I was not at all prepared for the literally illegal and criminal things that were going to be discussed and, I guess, confessed in those groups. And it wasn't the women doing illegal things, it was their partners. It was their partners literally forcing themselves on their freshly post-op wives and girlfriends. It was their partners saying things like, well, the doctor said no P and V, so why don't we do P and B? Or it was them quite literally, again, forcing themselves on their wives. It was them saying, well, if you don't sleep with me right now, even though you're like 2 days post-radical hysterectomy and you have a massive incision on your stomach, if you don't sleep with me right now, I'm going to go sleep with somebody else. And so it was them coercing their partners into doing things, or quite literally forcing their partners into doing things that they were not surgically cleared for. They didn't feel, physically or emotionally or mentally ready to do. And a lot of it was the aftermath of that. A lot of it was women saying, I did this because my husband wanted it, I was not ready, and now my organs are literally falling out of me. Now I have prolapse. Now I have a horrific infection. Now I have a widespread infection in my entire pelvis. Now I have to go back in for more surgery. Now I'm hemorrhaging. Help me. What do I do? There are a lot of women who were recovering and had no support whatsoever, and their husband was literally just trying to use them like a blow-up doll. So they had children, they had young children, they had no support system. Their husband was obviously not taking care of the children. So a lot of these women had cancer and had to have full open abdominal incision hysterectomies, and they were literally gutted like a fish. And then they're having to go home. They're still on chemo. They just had a massive surgery, and they're supposed to be taking care of little kids and servicing their husband. And they would post in the group and be like, I don't know what to do. Like, I feel like I'm dying. I'm in so much pain. I have no help. Like, what am I supposed to do? And I'll never forget the one young lady. She wasn't much older than me. And she had her hysterectomy because she had uterine cancer. And I think she also had cervical cancer. And she had to have a full open hysterectomy where, like, they literally carved her innards out. And it's a massive surgery. And then she had some postoperative complications. And when she came home, the day, and I can remember her face still. Like, I remember her profile picture. The day she came home, her husband forced himself on her. Ripped her stitches. She had a cuff. She had a vaginal cuff because she lost her cervix. Ripped her cuff. She had prolapse, and she got a raging infection. And he didn't even care. And she was trapped with that man. And this happens all the time. Like, this is not a rarity. I naively, when I was 22 and I joined those groups, I assumed that I would see some of that. But I'm talking like post after post after post, day after day after day of women being like, my husband's trying to pressure me into having sex and I just had a hysterectomy 6 days ago. My husband is trying to pressure me into doing anal, even though the doctor said not to do that either because they're right next to each other. The holes are next to each other. You can't, when you have had that surgery, whether you still have your cervix or not, whether it was, open radical hysterectomy or whether it was a laparoscopic hysterectomy, you cannot go putting stuff in there. It literally could be a death sentence. If you could get a horrific infection, you can have multiple organ prolapse. You can go from needing just the hysterectomy to needing an ostomy bag. And that also happened multiple times. Again, because men could not just not act like a fucking wild, rabid animal and literally attack their wife or attack their partner. And I literally think about that like all the time. Every time. And I'm still in some of those groups because it's valuable information and it's a supportive community. But every time I see a post like that, I want to go and find the man that is pressuring that woman or potentially even trying to force himself on that woman, and I want to cut his dick off. And I want to shove it down his throat. And I want to do it in front of the mirror and make him watch. Because how much of an animal do you have to be? Whether you even like give a shit about your partner or not, just like another human being. How much do you have to view your partner as inferior to you and as subhuman that you know that they just had a surgery that involves nothing going in the kitty cat, and still, because you want to get your rocks off, and because you're a fucking animal and you have no self-control, you still make your partner do things, knowing it could literally kill them. Or irreparably and horrifically harm them. And then, after you irreparably harm them, you would probably just leave them and then move on to the next woman. Because that's what happens with disabled and chronically ill women. The male partner leaves when he doesn't get what he wants anymore, or if he ever has to step into a caretaking role. He doesn't step into the caretaking role. He just goes and finds somebody 10 years younger.